what my sound preferences are. I like bass. And if it can have quantity and quality, yeah, I'm rocking it. Especially mid bass. I like the slam over the sub bass rumble. I like my mids super clean. Not a big fan of overly colored, overly thick, overly warm mids. Not a big fan of that. And highs that are very sweet and seem to be able to keep up without ever being overbearing or in your face. So hello again. Today's video is on TRN's latest flagship 9-driver IEM called the VX Pro Plus, or in some of their literature it says Pro 2. Now, looking back, I've never reviewed the original VRX Pro, but looking from some of those reviews and Paul Wasabi's graph in comparison to these two, it looks like TRN decided to retune it a little bit, take some of the criticisms to heart, and lower some of those upper mids and treble. And it looks like they certainly did that. Now, this one also boasts, like the previous generation one, 9 drivers per side, one 10mm dynamic driver, a beryllium coated, which I like a lot of the sound characteristics. If I were to generalize a dynamic driver that is beryllium coated, I'd say it is speedy or has some speed to it, and it has still good note weight. The rest of the configuration, according to TRN, is 8 balanced armatures. Now, they say they use customized balanced armatures for the mids, 4, a 50060, and on the highs, a 30095. Now, what that means is probably not a Knowles or a Sonyan balanced armature. These could be non-branded or Belsing or somebody else's, right? And that will play a part into the sound characteristics, and we'll talk about that in a bit. The beryllium dynamic driver used in this IEM seems to be decent quality. They're using a dual motor structure design, and I think it's probably the star of this IEM. Now this IM comes in two colors. It comes in flowing silver and it comes in pearl black. Talking about the sound of this. Now, again, that dynamic driver for bass, for me, hits a nice balance in the overall mix. It's not overly boomy, it's not saturated, and it does play a part into the overall tonality. It needs to have quite a bit of energy. I wish it had maybe a tad bit more, because there is a lot of information up top in the upper mids and certainly treble and extension. But just talking about that bass driver, I think it is nicely weighted. It has some nice texture to it and depth to the notes, though I find the decay is a little speedy. Could be a little bit longer to add some robustness and weight to the notes, especially for instrumental like piano. Listening to a track from Poncho Sanchez, Blue Train, where Poncho has his own signature drums that he plays and sells. Now, they actually sounded quite correct. They have nice resonances. They have nice, you can hear his fingers on the drum skin. But that's not really what got me in this track, actually, even though I was listening for the bass. It was the rest of it and how cleanly the instrumental and the highs came through. I kind of made a note that I thought this IM was playing at a level that the price doesn't dictate. Edge of 17 by Stevie Nicks. Here, listening to, again, bass is punchy, vocals I want to listen to. Again, I found the decay could be a little bit slower to round out the notes a bit more. The mids, again, play super clean, and this is where I was getting a really good sense of the BA sheen and metallic timbre that these unbranded balanced armatures belt out. The notes are just not quite polished as much as you would get from, for instance, I was also listening to a being Letschure's Galileo, where it uses a single dynamic driver and a single Sonyan balanced armature. And you can clearly tell with the Sonyan that it has a more lusher, a smoother, I'll use that word again, a more polished highs and mids, where the VX Pro Plus does sound a little bit forced, a little bit metallic. And at higher volumes, it really does come into play. Now, I also experimented with Impedance Adaptor just for shits and giggles. I have this OKCSC 4.4 balanced adjustable impedance adapter. They're $25. They're pretty fabulous. It goes from 0 to 100 ohms impedance, and you can adjust it per channel. I think it's pretty cool. So I dialed it up to about 70 ohms impedance. And what I did find is now it does affect, and I'll show you this graph, it actually affects the top end quite a bit, where it really balanced it out a bit more. In fact, at 60 ohm impedance, I think it neutered it for me even too much. But here's now what happens is, because you reduce the upper mids and treble, you hear more bass, more weighty bass. And I did like what I was hearing with that kind of tuning. Then I kept dialing it back down to about 30. And that for me was kind of the chef's kiss. It didn't neuter it too much. Still added some weight to the bottom end, but it really made it a lot more balanced and listenable for me. So to talk about the sound in its stock form, though, I think the bass does play nicely. I like the qualities of the beryllium driver and what it does. I think it does take a little bit of time to loosen up a little bit out of the box. You might not get as great experience. I think the mids do play neutral in their volume across the board, though in the balance wise. But where it plays its tonality plays a bit thin. And that also extends into the highs. They are very extended. They are very airy and sibilant for me. And they do have quite a bit of BA timbre. Now, if I throw that 30 ohm impedance adapter, things change quite a bit. The overall tuning balances out quite a bit. The bass is allowed to catch up to the highs. So again, it was a much more enjoyable listen to me. I also have sensitivity to high frequencies around that 10-11K area. So for me, listening to this more than 10 minutes, I get ear ringing that lasts for hours. So I know I'm sensitive to that. So if you are as well, this IEM probably isn't for you. Just to conclude, I'm going to address a few things. First of all, the reason I have two colors here that TRN sent me is they sent me a first set and it didn't measure very well. In fact, it ended up measuring better after some burn-in, but it was not great. So I asked for a second set, and unfortunately that second set was much worse than the first set, so my impressions went off the first set. Just something to note. Secondly, I take quite an exception to the fact that TRN is calling this a flagship IEM. First of all, this simple packaging is about as basic bottom end as you can get. It's really inexpensive looking. The set of ear tips that you get, these white soft ones in 3 sizes, and you get 1 set of their better ear tips. So if this doesn't fit you with the better ear tips, that's it. This is not flagship level packaging or ear tips or accessories, and especially when it comes to this same cable that came with the original, and it really is quite a poor cable. It's a freebie, but again, you can't call this a flagship IEM and throw this kind of level of accessories at it. You just can't do it. It's embarrassing. The TRN red chain, the modular cable that came with the conch, is 1,000 times better, and that one was $25. This is $44. I don't get it. Next, the original one was CNC machined aluminum shells. They look exactly the same as far as I can tell from the original. They're inexpensive plastic. You can totally tell. Though finish-wise isn't bad. They did put some time and effort into this plasticized looking, this metal plasticized looking shell. It feels inexpensive. Fitment-wise, still fantastic though for me. Great isolation and comfort. Quite nice on that side of things though. In a nutshell, I mean, the sound-wise, it's hard to complain for such a detailed and airy 9-driver per IEM set. So if you were counting value on driver count, this one would be at the top of your scale. I think overall, TRN did a pretty good job on the tuning. And tone the top end down a bit to make it a little bit more balanced over the original. I think for somebody who is just starting out in the hobby and would like to experience a hybrid IEM that had some pretty good air and extension on the top end, this might be a set for you to start off, because at a value priced point, it's actually decent. I think TRN is going to have to work on their marketing and wording just a little bit. If you're going to call something a flagship, you better make sure, at least to me, that it is at its highest, at a very high level. And that includes everything, the entire user experience, from packaging, the accessories, and of course, sound quality. Quality control is also going to be something of a concern. Hopefully not to everybody on this set, and maybe I just got unlucky with the 2 sets that I received. I think that's it for this one. Thanks so much. It's the Tone Deaf Monk, and I'm out.